I foiled the Buffalo Police Department for body cam footage from the behavioral health unit's visit to my house on Christmas Eve. So this segment, I am going to clip it, but the intention of this segment is that it will live kind of before that video. So it's like it's the entire, I'm going to just post the raw body cam footage on my YouTube, but I think it makes sense to kind of have some background, so when you're watching it, you kind of know the context of how that happened. So I'm just going to be recording kind of my commentary on that now. So yeah, so this is the preamble, or this is kind of this video is to help kind of give what you're about to see context. So on Christmas Eve 2023, 3 members of the Buffalo Police Behavioral Health Unit visited my house to do a mental health evaluation. So before you watch the raw footage, I just want to give some context to kind of make sense of what's going on. So I was the City of Buffalo's Open Data and Analytics Project Manager. So I was hired in January 2022. In this role, I was kind of the technical lead, or I was the technical lead for the city's open data website, so data.buffalonewyork.gov. So on the open data portal, there was essentially a website where you can view and download and visualize all sorts of information for the city of Buffalo. So that was my primary responsibility. And another primary responsibility is that I was the technical lead for the city's SaaS analytics contract. So after the murder of George Floyd, the city of Buffalo, as part of their police reform agenda, they entered into a contract with the SAS Institute. So item number 10 of the Buffalo police reform agenda was data transparency. So in the mayor's State of the City address, he announced this, innovative contract and said that the city of Buffalo's agreement with the SAS Institute was positioned to make the Buffalo Police Department one of the most innovative, transparent police departments in the country. The contract cost the city $2.1 or just over $2 million. And so that was my role as a city employee was I was not the project manager, but I was directly supervised by the city's chief information officer and by the city's, at that time, director of open data, who was the project manager for the SAS Institute. So I was kind of the technical lead. That my role was to design queries, to design, extract, transform, and load data pipelines, and then create automations that would send the SAS Institute the data they needed for their project, and then the SAS would do whatever it was they were going to do. So it was very clear during my work on the SAS project that the consultants that were hired and the consultants that were assigned to the city of Buffalo were incompetent. We did not get the A team, and somebody at the city of Buffalo got sold a bag of perishable goods, because it was essentially we got lots of bar charts, so lots of blue bar charts, and it was pretty clear that the consultants didn't really care and weren't really doing anything. They knew how to read PowerPoint slides, but they really technically couldn't do anything. So part of my employment is I actually had gone to my supervisor, Kirk McLean, who's now the city's chief information officer, and I'd expressed my concerns that this project wasn't going well, and I kept pushing him, and eventually got the response from him, "What do you want me to do about it?" So that for me was like, something. You're the project manager. So essentially the SAS Institute, it was promised as making it one of the most innovative and transparent police departments, but 5 years later, and no results have been posted. So in June, so fast forward, so the SAS project, they had consultant hours, 2,000 consultant hours that ran out. Once those hours ran out, it was very clear to me that my time was probably going to be limited. So on June 20th, 2023, I was terminated by the city's chief information officer, effective immediately. I was given no reason on my termination letter of why I was fired. Lots of different things. I don't think I was very popular there. I think they didn't appreciate me kind of voicing my concerns or pushing back on a lot of the incompetence or corruption I saw. and also my, so in my termination firing, so Daryl Springer, who's the chief information officer, he was accompanied by the city's deputy chief information officer, Frank Enrado. And then also in that meeting was my union president, Tracy Healy, from local AFS CME. So a week later, before I was terminated, Tracy Healy confronted me in the council chambers, and she asked me what I was doing there. And I just said I was observing the meeting. And then a week later, Daryl Springer, I wasn't given any reason on my letter, but the official reason was that he said I was seen in the council chambers, and I was not told I wasn't allowed to be in the council chambers. I was Kirk McLean. I was under his supervision. He really pushed innovation and like doing things differently. So I was attending that meeting just to learn about the city and how open data could be used and analytics could be used to improve city operations. So Tracy Healy, who's my union president, I believe, my perception is that she's using her position. She's also my union president, but she's also holds a position in the city's HR department as a civil service personnel specialist 1. And prior to my termination, I'd filed a grievance because I was hired as a provisional employee. So provisional employees are, and I can read the civil service law. But yeah, provisional employees can be terminated anytime. And City of Buffalo civil service law says that those appointments should last no longer than 9 months. My provisional appointment lasted a total of 18 months because civil service law says that the HR commissioner has to offer a civil service exam for a provisional appointment to prevent any appointment from being longer than 9 months. The HR commissioner never offered an exam for my title, so I was just kept provisional indefinitely. And I think that was kind of why Tracy Healy didn't like me, my union president. And after my grievance, which essentially they just didn't really give too much information on my exam, but after my grievance, I approached my union president and the personnel specialist 1, Tracy Healy, and she told me to slow my march down, which doesn't make sense because I sat at a cubicle all the time. So after I was terminated, I filed a couple items with the city of Buffalo. So one item was my concerns about the SAS Institute. So about the SAS Institute. And then 2 others, I had found that the city was deducting union dues from my paychecks without my permission, which is a violation of the collective bargaining agreement with the union. So I filed that item. I filed an item just basically asking for my authorization form, which is supposed to be a thing, but wasn't. And then Tracy Healy told me in response to my item that a mistake must have been made. So essentially, I caught the city stealing union dues from my paycheck without my permission, which is against the law and the collective bargaining agreement. And then I foiled for 2 other people that also worked under Kirk McLean and Daryl Springer, and they also were missing authorization forms. So I think it's an official policy of the city that they're just deducting dues from provisional employees without their permission. And then also being forced to join the union, then they don't get representation because Tracy Healy, who provisional employees can't get civil service exams because the city doesn't offer them. The person in the city responsible for offering civil services is Tracy Healy. So grievances go to the HR commissioner and go to civil service where she works. So she essentially kind of controls, civil service exams, and she can't really represent provisional employees. And then on December 6th, so 2 weeks before this incident occurred, I filed an item basically just saying, Tracy Healy wrote me a check for a dues refund. So I sent that information to the Common Council and then asked how many other people are also missing dues authorization forms. So I attended an open data. So I filed that item with the Common Council, and then that afternoon I attended a open data Buffalo event at the Partnership for the Public Good in Cornell Industrial Labor Relations School. And at that meeting, Kirk McLean, my former supervisor, who was promoted to Chief Innovation Officer a week after I was fired, he stepped out of the room, spoke to a couple members at PPG and Cornell, and asked that I was removed because he wasn't comfortable with me in the room. And then I left without incident. And then 2 weeks later, the Buffalo police showed up at my house. So I wasn't sure why they showed up at my house, but I was able to foil the behavioral health unit, the mental health crisis intervention report, because I was curious of why they showed up at my house. So according to the mental health crisis intervention report, a call was received from a business, and the call type was marked as other, or a request by TMU detective sergeant. So TMU is the threat management unit. The threat management unit is essentially, they were designed to like prevent terrorism in the city. So if people said they were going to like create violence or like do a shooting or like terroristic threats, they're supposed to be by the TMU. So detective sergeant of the threat management unit, Nicole Krug, she apparently was the one that called in the BHU to visit me on Christmas Eve. So the nature of the incident, the form says things like suicide, trespassing, intoxication. Mine was just listed as other. So then actions and behaviors observed, it was listed that refusal to respond, paranoia, suspiciousness were the two boxes that were moved of like observations of me. Those are so here's the narrative of the Buffalo Police health unit from their mental health records, or their narrative. So it says the behavioral health unit team requested for mental health evaluation per TMU sergeant or supervisor. Upon arrival and during mental health evaluation, subject provided vague responses when questioned about his prior employment with the city. Subject did appear to be frustrated with how he was terminated from his position. When BHT clinician Jamela asked if subject has any known mental health diagnosis, subject replied no. Subject denied and refused any and all mental health services offered. The behavioral health team contact info was provided, and BHT lieutenant will notify the detective sergeant crew with findings. At this time, no additional follow-ups are needed. So that's kind of the long-winded story, but essentially, I believe the behavioral health team was sent to my house to kind of retaliate against me and kind of intimidate me from pursuing foils, pursuing items, speaking out publicly about the city's SaaS analytics contract, which still hasn't been made public. And also because I may have stumbled upon some sort of embezzlement scheme that Tracy Healy is running, where she deducts union dues from provisional employees and then doesn't provide them representation when they try to get civil service exams. Because I believe that as a practice, she's not representing people fairly, and she's kind of using her position in the union to kind of be a spy for like the administration and the human health or the human resources department. So that's my long-winded answer, but this will be before my video, so enjoy the raw body cam footage from my mental health surprise on Christmas Eve.